Yeah, and there you saw it. Jacob deGrom and Brandon Nimmo made their debuts today for the Texas Rangers in spring training. A beautiful Wednesday here in Surprise, Arizona. I'm Jeff Wilson. This is the DLS Rangers podcast. Tanner's working the controllers back in DFW in case I screw up like I did last time. He'll let me know. But yeah, Brandon Nimmo, Jacob deGrom, highly anticipated debuts. Nothing's wrong with them. Keep in mind, this is all by design, kind of a slow build up, a slow ramp up. And we'll talk about that more in the second segment. For now, though, let's go ahead and do the camp rundown from Arizona. And the Rangers played Brazil, and Brazil's not good. They run ruled them, beat them 13-2 in 7 innings. In the WBC, there are run rules in place. And the Rangers scored, I think, 5 times in the 6th to get to the run rule. Nobody was complaining. There was fear, though, that at least among the media, that there would be some extra pitching that both teams wanted to get work. That wasn't the case. Packed it up, went home early. In the game, Josh Smith homered twice. Jake Berger and Cam Cauley also homered. deGrom, if you can't wait for the news, a run in 2 innings, 3 strikeouts. Brandon Nimmo went 1 for 2 with a walk. Elsewhere on the pitching front, Kumar Rocker pitched, and I'm not sure what to make of the outing. He allowed a run, which is in 3 innings, which is good, but he gave up 7 hits, which doesn't seem to be good, and he only struck out 1. He threw 49 pitches, only 14 balls. All right, so that seems good, but I think with the 7 hits, that's an indicator that he threw strikes, but not necessarily quality strikes. Skip Schumacher afterwards said he gave up some 0-2 hits because of poor location or poor command, if you will. But Skip also liked the performance. I guess I missed the second Rocker outing, but Skip said that Kumar had better mound presence today, and Skip was happy with the way that Kumar worked his whole arsenal and stuck with it and tried to get those pitches better. Specifically, the cutter and the changeup. He got his only strikeout on a changeup, but he also gave up a home run on the changeup. So there's good and there's bad, obviously, there. Kumar is in a tight battle for that 5th spot with Jacob Latz primarily, although I think Cal Quantrill and Austin Gomber can be considered candidates. But Latz, to me, is the leader in the clubhouse. Well, he's not in the clubhouse yet. Latz is the leader. We'll just go with that. He's going to pitch this weekend. And his 3rd outing through a bullpen session today, he seemed pretty pleased with that. And when you talk about this Brazil team, you see 13-2. Brazil is no good. I think I just saw a poll or a ranking where they listed all the teams in the WBC, and Brazil was the worst team. They're not going to win a game. They go to Puerto Rico, I think, after tonight's game. So they're headed to Puerto Rico, where they will play their games and serve as fodder to whoever plays them. They do have some MLB bloodlines, like Lucas Ramirez, who is the guy who hit the home run off of Jacob deGrom. He's Manny Ramirez's son. Okay, so he's got a little hitter in him. I think that the catcher Jan Gomes, who's on the coaching staff. So there's some more MLB bloodlines. Jose Contreras, his son, is on the team, and that his son is 17. The pitcher who gave up 5 runs in the 3rd inning to the Rangers, maybe it was 6. I lost track. 17, and then the 18-year-old. They have an 18-year-old on the roster, and he was catching the 17-year-old. So that kind of tells you what Brazil is up against. They don't have any quality. They don't have any MLB players. Forget that, and then they don't have any. They have a lot of young players who are still developing, and then they have a bunch of guys who they have some guys who play in Japan. They have some guys who are in the minor leagues. The Ramirez kid, for instance, played last year at High A Tri-City. So don't put up. I wouldn't be too thrilled with this win. In fact, I might be a little concerned about the Rocker performance if you consider who it was he was facing. Look, if you don't locate and you're against anybody who has an inkling of an idea of what to do at the plate, you may give up some hits. So it probably wasn't the performance that he wanted, but he did get the work in that he was trying to get. So we'll see how it all plays out here in a few weeks when they finally make that decision. But I still think it's Latz who has the edge. And I know on my first roster prediction I had Rocker, and I still think the bullpen works better if Latz is in it. But you want a good fifth starter, and I think at this point, if Latz hangs on and continues to pitch well, it's going to be really hard to tell him that he didn't do enough to be a starter. Elsewhere in camp, Evan Carter was in the lineup today, but he is sick. The same illness that got Corey Seager and others. It's winding its way through the clubhouse, and it finally landed at Evan Carter's immune system. So Evan was scratched today. I don't know if he'll play tomorrow. It's a night game. Corey, it took a few days off, so we'll see about that with Evan. Evan's also a little bit younger, not quite as established as Corey, so maybe he'll feel the urge or get nudged a little bit more than Corey would to get back in the lineup. There was a simulated game on Nolan Ryan Field at noon. Not as much action as Skip Schumacher anticipated there would be, at least from the big league side. Really, the biggest name was Kyle Higashioka, who has been dealing with a sore back. He took 3 at-bats. And David Davalillo, who's run out of innings basically in these A games, one of the Rangers' better pitching prospects. He's on the 40-man roster. He pitched, and he was really good. 3 scoreless innings, 6 strikeouts. He doesn't throw hard, but he's always around the plate, and the slider plays well off the fastball. When it's a strike and you think the slider's going to be a strike, all of a sudden it dives out of the way. So it was a pretty good little performance from him. Before that, Chris Martin, he threw live batting practice. He should be in a game soon. Chris Martin is perfectly healthy. He's just really old. And so the Rangers are taking it slow with him after he, was banged up a lot last year, especially in the second half. And then the same Jose Corniel, he also threw live batting practice. He's okay. He just had some dead arm, and so he's been slowed by that. I would expect that the Rangers maybe give Corniel an inning in an A-League game here in a couple days, but ultimately they go ahead and option him pretty quickly so he can get stretched out and ready to go at AAA. I think you'll see him at some point this year. It's just not going to be particularly early. No show on Tuesday. There was no big league game on Tuesday, no big league anything Tuesday. However, minor league camp opened, and John Moore and I from the weekly show, we went out there and took a look around. We spent about 3 hours on the backfields checking things out, and here is what I saw. I think the most notable thing I saw, the thing that I really wanted to see, was Brock Porter pitch. And I just wanted to see Brock Porter in general. I didn't care if he was pitching or not, but it turned out he threw live batting practice. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't awful. For those who love the velocity thing, up to 96. So that's positive. But his control was a little bit off. He walked too many guys, but the contact that people made wasn't solid at all. So you kind of take the good with the bad there. Hopefully he recognizes, hey, if I throw it over the plate, guys aren't gonna hit it very hard. Brock, we've talked about him. He was the 4th round pick, the Rangers' 2nd pick in 2022 after he had fallen from the top 10, a projected top 10, top 15 pick in the whole draft. The Rangers called him, gave him a bunch of money, had a good enough first year at low A where hitters tend to swing at a lot of pitches, and then the mechanics were at, he has to make mechanic changes, and they didn't work. It got into his head, and it was 2012 a lost year. He kind of figured some things out, decided to do a couple things his own way. When given the choice to start or be a reliever, he took reliever so that he could get more time on the mound, and it worked. He had a nice year last year, and so you hope there's a next step. You hope there's a starting pitcher still in there. With him, it's about emotions and mechanics. The mechanics are good. He's going to throw hard. if the emotions are in check, he's not going to get too far ahead of himself and let things spiral out of control. All right. So, but for what probably was not his first live BP, he's been here a long time. I saw him on the very first day of Major League camp. Still early though for him. Still early for him. Emiliano Teodo threw a bullpen while we were watching. So did Ben Abel, the former TCU pitcher who was coming off the brace surgery. Looks like he's going to be ready to start with an affiliate. If not, it's going to be pretty quick thereafter. So good news there. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Mark Church, I forgot about that, threw live BP today as well. Threw it today and was pretty pleased with the velocity and everything like that. It's interesting. I wonder if he still has a chance, to make this roster. He's unique in that he throws hard. Not a lot of Rangers relievers throw as hard as him. In fact, none of them do. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make some noise there or be a call-up early in the season if something goes wrong. Okay, also, back to yesterday. We had a chance to meet Caden Scarborough. He had been on our podcast late last year. Great kid, was having a fantastic season, jumped way up in the prospect rankings. And then a week ago, the Rangers informed the media that Caden Scarborough had a malignant melanoma removed. It was on his neck. We couldn't see it. He had a kind of a mock turtleneck going. He had long sleeves on. And when we were approaching him, he was spraying suntan lotion all over his face. So he is taking this very seriously. It was removed February 2nd, so he's not quite doing a lot right now. But he says there's a loose plan. It just kind of depends on how quickly everything heals. It's been about a month, but I don't think there's any need to rush who is arguably your top pitching prospect. A lot of the industry people seem to think so. And if they don't think it's Scarborough or Jose Corniel, I guess, they think it's AJ Russell. Had a chance to meet him yesterday. I missed him after he signed. I was in Idaho fishing when they brought him in after he signed. And man, what a nice kid. Also, what a large kid. Giant hands, which I always think is a good thing for pitchers to have. He super friendly, and he's ready, willing, and able to come on the weekly podcast or maybe this one at some point. Not sure, but he just did PFPs yesterday. Not sure if he threw today. I didn't make it back to the backfields. We also met Jack Wheeler, who's everybody's kind of hopefully people are thinking he could be a steal, the 6th-round pick out of an Illinois high school. He is a big kid, and he has a lot of power. Despite the size, he moves pretty well. He really does. And then we also introduced ourselves to Josh Owens, who we had on the show last year. This is a big kid. He is not small. He is 6'3". He doesn't miss a leg day. Two-way player. We just saw him hit yesterday. And then I reintroduced myself to Song Joon Kim, the prospect from Korea, another two-way player. We watched him hit, didn't see him pitch. We learned that his teammates are calling him SJ. So we will be calling him SJ going forward. Keep that in mind. I thought he might go by Kim, kind of like Shin-Soo Choo went by Chu. But hey, whatever he wants to be called, by God, I'll call him that. So minor league camp is underway. There's still a group of rehabbers out there. Isaac Tiger, who I know a lot of you are curious about, he's still in the rehab group. Hopefully not for much longer. But it's always good to get back there and talk to folks and just kind of put some names with faces and introduce yourself to guys. And there's some young talent down there. A lot of it is in the lower levels, but I do think here in a year or two, when these guys mature, the Rangers system will have a lot more respect than it does right now. Okay, that wraps up segment one. We're going to hit some commercials here real fast, and then when we come back, we'll talk more in depth, and you will hear from Jacob deGrom and Brandon Nimmo on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Hey guys, as you know, the World Cup is coming to town. The last time there was a big international event in the United States, I remember a couple stories about how much people were making by renting their homes to guests from other countries. And AirDNA will help you figure out if it would be worth it for you guys to rent out your homes in the Metroplex during the World Cup. AirDNA is like Airbnb. The difference here is that they will walk you through the process and find out if it's worth your time. We're talking about potentially life-changing, game-changing money. $14,000 to $23,500 in a month's time. Are you kidding me? airdna.co/DLLS is where you need to go. They'll get you started and then take it from there. airdna.co. And then we have our good friends at Wild Fork Foods, who we love. Wild Fork Meat and Seafood Market. There are 9 locations in DFW. They're hoping to expand westward over on the Fort Worth side of town within the next year or two. Look, even if they're not that close to you, go find one. Go to one. You'll be amazed at the selection. You'll be amazed at how nice the people are and how knowledgeable they are and how much they can help you with what they call flash frozen meats. Frozen is better, Wild Fork Foods says, because it retains the nutrients with just a quick little freeze. Not frozen all the way through, just a quick little freeze. And again, it's wildforkfoods.com. You can become a member. $29 for a year, and they will guarantee delivery that day or the next day. It's an unbelievable deal. It's an unbelievable place. Go to wildforkfoods.com. That's Wild Fork Meat and Seafood Market, 9 DFW locations. Hey guys, I forgot 2 things off the top. We'll start with a super chat for $20.23 from our good friend Misty. I'm assuming that is a shout out to the Rangers World Series year. Yeah, it's nice that the Rangers mercy ruled Brazil and Josh Smith had 2 homers. But the most exciting thing to me was that the stadium DJ played Equestria Girls Rainbow Dashes, Awesome as I Want to Be during the lineup exchange. Leon, I don't know what the hell that is, but I am thrilled that you were thrilled by that. I think I saw some of that happening in the Discord. So I'm going to have to check this out a little bit more in depth. But thank you very much, as always, for your super chat. Item number 2, if you were in the Discord and if you saw on Twitter, I told you guys to bring your favorite cold beverage for this happy hour edition of the DLS Rangers podcast. So I have a Huss Brewing Scottsdale Blonde German-style Kolsch. It's very good. Also, it cost me $16.91 here at Surprise Stadium. Now, I guess I can justify it by saying it's 24 ounces and it's 2 beers, but there was some sticker shock when they asked me to pay. So anyway, thanks again, Leon. I hope you've enjoyed your trip. I saw you out on the backfield today and didn't make my way over to see you, but I saw you. Hey, and if anybody else is out here, find me or let me know. You can send me a DM on the Twitter, or you can email me at jwilson@alldls.com, and I'll try to find you and shake your hands and let you buy me a beer. Okay. Okay. Here we go. On to segment 2, where we're going to dive a little deeper into deGrom and Nimmo, who again made their spring debuts. For deGrom, pitchers and catchers reported on February 10th. The first game was February 20th. Nimmo reported on the 15th, and the first game still the 20th. All of this is by design. They found something that they think works for them. For deGrom, it's kind of about regulating his innings. He thought the slow ramp up worked last year. Now, it's not going to be so slow that he's not able to pitch in the first series. I asked him specifically about that today. He said that he will be able to get built up. You'll hear him comment on that in a minute. But, he's been working behind the scenes. He hasn't just been coming to the clubhouse and playing ping pong. Apparently, he's a great ping pong player. But he's been trying to get his mechanics dialed in, something that he battled really into May, I'd say, last year. Just trying to get everything right. He feels like he's a lot closer. He spent some time in the pitching lab, at least 2 sessions over there. They can kind of like put a batter in there, simulate a batter, and I guess that things kind of change for him when he sees a batter, speeds up his deliveries. So anyway, Jacob, though, again, the 2 innings, 3 hits, one of which was a home run to the second batter he faced after he wiped out the first batter on 398-mile-per-hour fastballs. So 3 hits. The other 2 were pretty weakly hit, didn't walk anybody, 39 pitches, 27 strikes, so he's around the strike zone. He still has some things he wants to work on, but Tanner, he felt good after this one.
First start, how'd you feel out there?
Felt good. The goal is to try to establish the fastball, and then pitch from there. I wanted to mix in everything, which we did a good job of doing that. So, felt good overall.
Were mechanics, you've been really dialing on those? Are they where you want them?
Yeah, that's what we were working on. I still feel like my front side can get up a little bit more. It's when a hitter steps in there, it's been a little quick. So, early on we were throwing in the lab to see all that. So we'll have to look at the video from today, but I felt like on a couple of pitches it got quick.
You talked about wanting to limit some of the homers this year.
Yeah, there was
what did you think about that pitch?
It is what it is. I threw a fastball and it was just middle. So, I feel like if I hit my spot there, it's the shape of everything was good. So it's just I threw it right down the middle.
So, opening days in a little over 3 weeks. What's your plan to get built up for that first series?
And what did I throw? Almost 40 today.
39. Yeah.
So we'll be able to get built up. I think I got 3 more, probably. So
when you leave here, you want to be able to.
I think we talked about kind of what we did last year, where it's the maybe 585 to start for the first couple, and then kind of go from there. So it's just going to be based on feel, which I've been feeling really good. I felt like I could have kept going today. So I think my last live I threw 30-something pitches as well. So I think the next jump will be probably 50-something, so and 60-something, 70. So we'll get to the number we want to get to.
Yeah, pretty interesting what he had to say. He's okay with the workload management. He wants to throw 200 innings. That's his goal, and I'm willing to bet that he has a way about him to impart that importance of that goal to the Rangers. But he also recognizes that, at the end of last season, when he threw 170 something innings and made 30 starts, he felt like he could have kept going had there been October baseball for the Rangers. So there's good and there's bad in it. But he said 5 and 85 the first few times out, kind of build up from there. It makes sense. We all know how injured he is or has been in his past, and the Rangers are built on pitching, man. And you may have Kumar Rocker or Jake Latz available to fill in if an injury were to befall deGrom, but man, they're good, but they're not that good. So anyway, you're going to see some stuff written about that at other outlets today. If you're a diehard, you read about it the first day of camp. Okay, so I kind of think it's old news, but whatever. Okay, so on to Brandon Nimmo. He went 1 for 2 with a walk. He struck out in his first at bat, walked against the 17-year-old from Japan who somehow has some Brazilian heritage, and then he singled in his last at bat, played right field, and went ahead and just had a little action on the second hit against deGrom. Is a little roller that I think actually hit the first base bag and went into right field. So Nimmo had to go run that down. But otherwise, a pretty easy day. I thought it was interesting that after he singled, it was his third at bat, and it was very clear that he wasn't going to play any further. He did not want to be pinch run for. A lot of times, as soon as that guy touches first base, even before the guy touches first base, the pinch runner is almost there, ready to go. But Nimmo wanted to run the bases. I just kind of think that's the kind of guy he is. But like deGrom, he was pretty darn happy about his performance today.
Yeah, just good to get back out there and be able to get back on the field, just see pitches, get in the flow of the game, and just get it started. So we've been working our way up to it, and it's been great. Successful, got out of there healthy, got a base hit and a walk, so that's great. And you just try and build on that day in and day out.
How many at bats have you learned you feel like you need in a spring training?
Usually, I base it on kind of how I'm seeing the ball, and if I get to a point where I feel like I need more at bats, then I'll go usually chase them in the minor league games or in the backfield games. I grew up around some guys like Murphy and Kadire and Jay Bruce, and sometimes those guys would go back and get 40 at bats in the backfields, and it's just one of the things that when you've made it to the big leagues, you're a big leaguer, you kind of have paid your dues in that respect, and you get to go get some at bats. So I usually have a floating number, but honestly it depends on how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. I feel pretty decent right now. It's not terrible. Obviously there's growing pains coming back into the season, and it's always nice to have a little break and let your body recover, but then getting back into game speed is always a challenge. So, right now I'm just trying to focus on being short and getting the at-bats, trying to see the ball well, and then make little adjustments from there. But I think it's kind of a floating number for me based on how I feel.
If you want to see the full interviews, they can be found on my Twitter feed, Jeff Wilson TXR, and on the DLLS Rangers Twitter feed, cleverly DLLS_Rangers. What we didn't get to with Brandon there was right field. How are things going there? And he talked extensively, as he does about everything, about that, and it's just changing the angles and everything. But he's been working there while he's been getting himself ready for games. And then he was also very excited to once again be playing behind Jacob deGrom. Of course, they had all those years here together with the Mets when Jacob was the best pitcher on the planet, bar none. And so it's going to be fun to see those two going at it, or not going at it, but playing together. Skip Schumacher talked about it after the game, how nice it is to see those two on the field. I mean, you talk about the big trade acquisition, the big offseason acquisition in Nimmo. Maybe Brandon Gore Mackenzie Gore is 1B to Nimmo's 1A. But to see Nimmo on the field finally, to see deGrom in a game finally, now things as we head toward opening day, there's going to be an opportunity now for Schumacher to get what looks like the lineup regulars. They'll still be a little bit off schedule, but there will be a chance to have more of them in there to see what the offense looks like, and give you guys a better picture of what this offense might look like. You can't judge yet. Skip Schumacher said that this morning. They don't have enough at bats. There hasn't been enough continuity yet. There are some things though that he likes. They're hitting to the situations of the game. See a lot of sacrifice flies, some selfless at bats. So those are all good things. But I think the best news out of today was that Nimmo played, deGrom pitched, both came out healthy. Both are pleased with where they are at this point in the spring season. And both believe that without question, they're going to be ready to go on opening day, which this year is March 26th at Philadelphia. Pack a coat if you're going. If you're not, I'll be there. I'll wear a coat for you. All right, we've got more coming up in the third segment when we kind of look at the bench battle. I know nobody likes to talk about, well, I don't know if nobody likes to talk about it. It seems kind of unimportant in the grand scheme of things, the bench, but it's important. And we'll talk about that next on the DLS Rangers podcast. All right, guys, good news. Store.allcitynetwork.com. We are having a St. Patrick's Day sale. It's St. Patrick's Day themed merchandise. We did it last year too. If you wear the green, nobody gets pinched. I like the guy drinking the beer. That's a pretty good one. Well, I guess there are a couple of those. Day drinking champion, sure. Now, if you've availed yourself to sort at allcitynetwork.com in the stars section, you probably have some green. But I'm really think you should go ahead and just, suck it up and get one of these too, because guarantee you, not a lot of people are going to have these at your St. Patty's Day party or whatever you do on St. Patrick's Day. That's the day I fly back to Arizona. So I will be on high alert on the Arizona highways to make sure nobody runs me down. I may sneak into Booties for a green beer. We'll see how it plays out. But go ahead. And if you don't want a St. Patty's Day shirt, okay, get one of more than 50 other shirts from our 4 teams, plus some colleges stuff. Get the hats. As you can see, I'm wearing the OG DLLS hat. There are the other 4, of which I have 3. I forgot the Stars one and didn't buy it. Sweatshirts, although it's not really sweatshirt weather. I think it's raining, though. Is it raining, guys? I think I just got a notice on my phone for a flash flood warning. So I'm going to assume it's raining. And then the Supporters Club. You guys need to join that, too. That's our diehard membership for the YouTube channel. Truly sickle of stuff. If you go to the YouTube homepage, which is youtube.com/@DLLS_sports, there will be a join button that you hit, because you guys have already hit the subscribe button. If you haven't, go ahead and do that too. But the join button will give you access to videos from all 4 of our beats that nobody else gets to see. Only Supporter Club members get to see it, and you get the cool emojis. So, T.O. is flexing some right now. So there you go. Do those things and help us out at DLLS. Okay, moving along to segment 3. There is, again, there aren't that many roles available this spring. There never really are. And the bench, not really, oh boy, who's on the bench? Great. It's a big story for the beat writers. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, it's a big story. I always go back to, and this is kind of the makeup the Rangers had on their everyday players in 2011, right? 2011, everybody knows the lineup then. But do you remember the bench for the postseason, for the World Series specifically? The one that always sticks out to me is Esteban Herman, who was a great minor league player, pretty good athlete, could run, had a little power. He didn't play in the majors hardly at all that year, and all of a sudden he's in the World Series and has to pinch hit and things like that. And, well, I'm not saying that's why the Rangers didn't win the World Series, but at the time, the Rangers did not feel like the bench was that important, because they're like, well, how often are these guys really going to play? And they had a point to an extent, but when a World Series is on the line, you probably want to have a little bit better bench. And I think that Skip Schumacher, and I've said this before, Skip Schumacher is going to lean on the bench. There are going to be some platoon situations where he is going to fire away with right-handed hitters. We talked about Evan Carter, for sure, Jock Peterson, maybe Josh Smith. So how is this bench going to shake out? You have the guy who isn't catching that day. So either Danny Jensen or Kyle Higashioka will be on the bench every day. You probably need to have a guy who can play shortstop, a right-handed hitting outfielder. And then what about the last spot? It probably needs to be a right-handed hitter, in my estimation, just because you potentially could need 3 right-handed bats to pinch hit in any given game against a lefty. So, or against a lefty. So we'll see how it plays out. Or against a right-hander, they bring in a lefty. You get my point. Okay, so who are the candidates? Ezekiel Duran, Sam Haggerty, Michael Hellman, Tyler Wade, Alejandro Osuna. Cody Freeman's not in anymore because he hurt his back, so that stinks. I think Josh Smith has pretty much sealed up the everyday stuff. I really don't know that it's going to be a platoon. I think there'll be situations where he doesn't play against the Tarek Schools of the world, but I think that he's gonna face both. So those are the candidates as I see them. The best shortstop is probably Duran. Okay, I know Tyler Wade has played there. Haggerty says he can play there. Hellman played there in the minors. Duran, though, the Rangers have experience with him there, notably, of course, in 23. when Seager was hurt. So I think he's the best shortstop. He has an enormous arm. He can play the outfield corner spots, and that arm can play in right field and left. And he can also play all the infield spots. So if the Rangers want need a right-handed hitting first baseman who isn't Jake Berger, well, they potentially have one in Duran. He is on the 40-man roster, which is always important when you think about roster construction. Also, Duran has an option left, which is important. Sam Haggerty, fabulous spring. Switch hitter who is better against left-handers, which basically makes him a right-handed hitter. He can play the outfield. He says he can play multiple infield spots. Says he's played second base more than anywhere else in his career. He is on the 40. He does not have options. But I think just what he's done this spring and what he did last year, kind of a spark plug kind of guy, can get on base via the walk. His feet are both healthy this year. He was hurt after the 24 season. During the 24 season, he'd had the Achilles injury, had surgery on that. The other foot was injured last year, and it turns out he had surgery in late September there. I never remember the Rangers telling me about it. Maybe they did, and I just blocked it out. But both wheels, he says, aren't great, but they're the same this year, so he won't be favoring one over the other. All right, so Hellman, right-handed hitter, very fast, great outfield defense, sneaky pop. He can play the infield a little bit. He's on the 40. He has options left. Tyler Wade, unbelievable spring. I guess just based on expectations. He played third base today. He's fast. Known mostly as a speed guy, an outfielder. He has never played first base, but Skip Schumacher said that Tyler Wade is going to play some first base this spring, just to make sure all the bases are covered, so to speak. No pun intended there, I guess. He is not on the 40-man roster. That's important. He's a left-handed hitter, which could be important because, again, I don't know that the Rangers are going to need a lot of left-handed bats on the bench, just with the platoon thing and everything. And then the last one is Osuna, who's away with Team Mexico. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Left-handed hitter, outfield only. Now, it's a great outfield defense, and he is a very good, smart base runner. He's an energy guy. He's a gritty kind of player who plays the game the right way. But again, I think that left-handed thing is gonna hurt because the Rangers have two left-handed outfielders, Nimmo and Carter. So do they really need another one? I don't know. Now they can all win spots. I think Skip Schumacher is very open to taking the best 26, and if Wade or Osuna is one of the best 26, then he'll take them. But I just when you weigh the roster construction, I don't know that the Rangers are as functional with either Wade or Osuna as a bench player. You might notice I didn't mention Cam Cauley, who homered today. He's having an unbelievable spring, but I just don't think he's going to make this roster. The main reason, the Rangers didn't protect him from the Rule 5 draft. And why didn't they do that? Because they thought he's too raw offensively. And look, apparently all the other teams agreed because, or at least the teams that have Rule 5 picks, because they didn't select him either. So he's here. He's taking advantage of the opportunity. There is no question about it, right? Absolutely no question. He's maybe becoming an option for later in the season. Probably if he performs like he is this spring or has a nice season, I'm going to guess that he is protected and is on the 40-man this time next year, but just not right now. And then Justin Foscue, the injury, the hamstring injury has really put a major dent. I don't want to say his chances are sunk, but has put a real dent in there. He was back on the field today, though. He took grounders at second base. He took batting practice on the field for the second straight day. He just says he's a couple days away, has to work on his running a little bit, and then he'll be back in there. He was off to a great start. Fantastic start this spring. And again, if they need a right-handed hitting first baseman, and if he comes out here and is kicking butt and taking names over the last couple of weeks, maybe he makes some noise. I think the best thing that happened to him in the offseason, not necessarily the best thing that happened to the Rangers, that's still to be seen, is that Bruce Bochy wasn't retained. I think there had been Foscue had been profiled. Bochy had seen him struggle a couple different times in the majors, and the numbers don't lie. It's not good for Justin in the majors, but he does hit left-handers, and he's done that throughout the minors, and so that's a real thing. And Skip Schumacher is aware of it. He thinks that Foscue is okay at second. He's good enough. We're not talking about a guy who's going to start 162 games. He could play there sparingly if there's a tough lefty or Josh Smith just needs a day off. Well, maybe Justin Foscue could be the guy, or the same thing at first base or DH. He could be the DH platoon with Jock Peterson, rather than having both catchers in the lineup. So there's some things to do, some things at play, but as I see it, like I said, the five guys are Haggerty and Duran, Hellman, Wade, and Osuna. I am tempted to put Foscue in the group, but he needs to get on the field again. So while he's not on the field, he's not a candidate yet. And then again with Cam, fabulous spring, great for him. We love the guy. John and I have had him on the weekly show 2 or 3 times now. Native Texan, can play the outfield even, fast, a lot of good things. But I don't think the Rangers are there yet with him either. So, and again, the Rangers tend to go through players a lot too. And you see players get hurt. You see players who are young who need at bats. They're on the major league roster, but they sit and they don't know how to stay sharp, and they need the at bats. It's the best thing for their development, so they get sent down. So somebody else gets added. Haggerty didn't make the team out of spring training last year. Got called up. What was it? Early May was on the roster the rest of the way. This is a guy who So you'll see situations like that, and you're going to need a lot of those guys. Outfield injuries. Hello, Evan Carter. Hello, Wyatt Langford. Guys who've been on the injured list the past 2 years at times for varying amount of lengths. Osuna would be a pretty handy guy to have down in AAA. A quality depth piece, as they like to say. Berger, who was hurt 3 or 4 times last year. Justin Foscue could get a look. Janet in the chat is asking, will Cam start at AA? I don't know. I don't know if he will or not. He was okay at Frisco last year, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes back there. And another thing, when we're talking about roster construction for the big league club, kind of got to look around at the minor league team too. If Richie Martin Jr. doesn't get out of his minor league deal, or Andrew Velasquez, they can both play shortstop. Does that push Cawley to AA? And I know these guys are journeymen, if you will, 4A players, but they've at least been in the major leagues, and so maybe that is a situation where Cawley ends up going to AA to start the year. Like Osuna last year, remember, was the star of camp, and he started at AA. It didn't last long, but that's where he started. So, and then we do have to keep Cody Freeman in mind. Thank you, Jan, for bringing him up. Misty, he's probably not going to be doing anything till camp breaks. So, and then how quickly will he have to build up with this stress fracture in his back? How long will that take? Probably mid-May. I'm just guessing. I don't know that for sure, but maybe mid-May until he's an option. And then at that point, what do you do? If Duran's not producing and Freeman's ready to go, do you give Freeman the look? But what do you do at shortstop? So there are a lot of things in my mind that still have to be decided. A lot of ways this could go, but I do think the right-handed hitters have an advantage. And I think the guy who can play shortstop the best has an advantage. Because as we know, Corey Seager also has frequently been on the injured list. Okay, that wraps that up. We've only got one segment to go. Batting cleanup. I hope you're enjoying your frosty beverages or malted beverages or whatever it is you have. But we're going to talk batting cleanup after this. All right, guys, Die Hard sale is still going. The spring training Die Hard sale. $36 for a year. You still get the shirt. You get 20% off of our merch, 20% off of our events, and it runs until the end of spring training. Here's what you do. You go to alldlls.com/spring-training-offer, or you just scan that QR code, and voila, it'll take you right where you need to go. The magic will happen. You guys won't regret signing up if you haven't signed up already for $3 for a month. Yeah, $3 a month. All right, that's basically how you need to break it down. But 36 for a year is a pretty darn sporty number. And so what do you get? You don't just get Rangers stuff, right? You get Cowboys, you get the Stars, you get the Mavs. Well, the Stars won 100 games in a row, and the Mavs, and then the Cowboys, there's always news there, whether you can stomach it or not. We have experienced guys who know how to cover a beat, and that's the important thing. We do. I talked to some people today about the state of their outlet in the Metroplex, and it doesn't sound good. Okay, we are on solid footing. We are covering teams. I'm in spring training for the second time, so that should tell you our commitment to giving you guys the best coverage there is out there. So one more time on the website, if you don't want to scan the QR code, alldls.com/spring-training-offer. All right, batting cleanup time. Benny, I saw you there at Least No Canna. There just hasn't been a lot there, right? I mean, he could play first base. He could play the corner outfield spots, but there just isn't any buzz around him. I don't want to, I guess, completely rule him out. He's a veteran, is probably taking his time. Maybe he knows when to turn it on, and maybe he does make an impression. If on your bench, you probably want to have a veteran guy. We talked about that. That's why I put him on my first roster projection, because you want your pinch hitters to understand how to do it. So he knows how to do it, but I just don't know that the splits are attractive enough against lefties. And then his season last year, albeit with an injury involved, I'm not sure that there's just not a lot of buzz. But maybe I'm overlooking him. So anyway, all right. Rarities, am I staying at the same Airbnb as last time? No, got a different one. And I like it. John and I are staying together, separate beds, separate rooms. We're not that close, but yeah, good place here. Okay, so on to batting cleanup. The biggest thing, and there is a very direct Rangers tie here, is that Jurickson Profar, former can't-miss Rangers prospect, has been suspended for the entire season without pay. He cannot return to play in the playoffs. He's done because he was bagged once again for using an illegal substance, a PED. It was some kind of like testosterone booster. And of course, the union's going to appeal on his behalf. If you remember last year, the 80-game suspension, he was like, I would never intentionally do something like that. And then here we are like 6 months later, and he's pretty much done for his career if the appeal doesn't work. And I don't know how you would appeal anything less. It would have to be pretty overwhelming evidence, I would think, for MLB to say, oh no, we were wrong. We were wrong. He also can't play the WBC for the Netherlands. I just can't tell you what a disappointment it is. I've known Jurickson since he was 17. The first time I met him was in the Dominican Republic in 2014. He wasn't good with the media then. Mike Daly, who worked for the team at the time, he's now with the Padres, who basically is the guy who got Profar signed. He had an agreement in place with the Orioles, or a very strong relationship there, and the Rangers got him to flip. And first career at bat, 19-year-old, 2012, hits a home run at Cleveland. all these things that made it look like he couldn't miss. There were the injuries. He was a little rough with the media. Mike Daly and I worked with him on that to help get him better. And I've always thought he was a good kid. I've heard some other things that maybe he wasn't as good a guy as I thought he was, but whatever. This is just it. Knowing Jerkson the way I do, this is shocking to me, and very disappointing. I don't know what else to say except this one's stung. Worse than the last one. All right, on to the World Baseball Classic, since we just mentioned it. Team USA romped the Giants Tuesday 15-1. Paul Skeens started 1 inning and 3 runs. Alex Bregman and Roman Anthony homered in that game. Then Team USA turned around and beat the Rockies today 14-4. Aaron Judge and Bregman homered in that one. They opened Friday against Brazil. Good Lord. I thought Brazil was in Puerto Rico, but anyway, wherever they are, Brazil's going to get slaughtered. And if Team USA plays them, it's going to be a nightmare for Brazil. The other game from that group is Mexico against Great Britain on Friday. As we know, Robert Garcia and Alejandro Osuna are playing for Mexico. And yesterday, Osuna homered in a win over the Diamondbacks. Who else homered? Rowdy Tellez. There's a Rangers tie. Scoreless inning for Garcia, but he issued a walk and a base hit. Mexico, I haven't seen the latest, but they were down 7-4, and none of our guys had done anything great. The first WBC games are late tomorrow night in the U.S. It's in Japan, where I believe it will be Friday. So there you go with that. Non-WBC stuff. Hunter Green, this is kind of important there for the Reds. Hunter Green won't throw at least until Tuesday. He's headed for an MRI because his elbow isn't working. He said that it's the same issue he had late last year that he pitched through. And a scan late last season showed no UCL damage. He told reporters today that the UCL is fine. We'll see. He did admit that he has some bone spurs in there. So if he has to have those taken out, he's going to miss a chunk of time. Of course, if he has to have Tommy John for the second time in his career, he's going to miss the whole season. The Reds, I think, are fancy themselves as contenders. They've kind of flirted with it the last couple of years. They won't be contending if Hunter Green's not around. That's that. I didn't see a lot of other news around the game today. However, there is some more Rangers-related news. In the political theater, Mark Teixeira, he won his congressional primary in Texas 21, which is west of Austin, north and west of Austin. It's a really weird shaped district. It's kind of like an apostrophe. Anyway, he's running as a Republican. He won 61% of the vote in a 12-candidate race. So he was the very strong favorite. I'm guessing that Mark did his research there and wouldn't have run if he didn't think he could win. Chip Roy held that seat for a while, and he just gave that up to try to be the attorney general. He got beat in the Republican primary last night too. So that's what I've got for the bat and cleanup. So here we go. Oh, the best thing that guy did for the team, Gallagher champ. I'm assuming you're talking about Teixeira was get traded. You know what? You're not wrong. The Rangers, as we know, traded him to the Braves. Him and Ron Mayhay to the Braves, 2007 for Bo Jones, of course, and then Jared Saltalamacchia, Neftali Feliz, Matt Harrison, and Elvis Andrus. I think it worked out pretty good for the Rangers. Not quite the Herschel Walker trade, because the Rangers, I guess, didn't win the World Series like the Cowboys won the Super Bowl a few years after that trade, but pretty darn spiffy. And I never had to deal with him. I dealt with him a little bit after his career and maybe asked him a little bit about the when he's with the Yankees, some conversation there. So I don't know. He's been nice to me, but seemed like he might have been a little political even back when he was playing for the Rangers. Manuel with a bunch of numbers. Rangers will finish last. I don't think so, Manuel. What else do we got? Let me go through here. Profar saying he didn't know what he was taking. Eye rolls. Gotcha, Rarity. Marsman, well, Galaga champ. That's a good question. I wonder if we are NSA approved. Might have to look into that. How long do you think the Rangers will give Rocker to be a starter before converting to a bullpen piece? A couple more years, I would say. He's really still a young starter, and let's keep in mind that they stuck on Jack Leiter. And I know that some people are like, oh, he's going to go to the bullpen. It worked out pretty good. Guys just develop at their own pace, and it takes time sometimes, and it's okay if it takes time. But now that the clock is started on the service time with the options and whatnot, maybe there's a little more urgency, but I don't think that they're going to give up on him as a starter until they're convinced absolutely positively that there's no way in heck that Kumar Rocker can be a major league starter. So I wouldn't be jumping the gun there. Yes, it is raining. Okay. Good, glad to hear that. SJ has an interpreter who's an Aggie. Oh, John Moore typed that in. So you Aggies should be proud. He's a nice guy. What's his name? Goo? G. Yeah, G. Yeah. Benny thinks this could be the year that Teodo finally puts it together. The Rangers hope so. He missed a lot of last year, almost all of it. So he needs to, he doesn't have to worry about starting anymore because they are convinced now that he is a reliever. So that's a good thing. And he is on the 40-man roster. Whoa, he is on the 40-man roster, and he throws harder than anybody on the 40-man roster, even Jacob deGrom. So I think that you might be onto something. How old is Brock now at 23? He just got married, in fact, in the offseason, and seems to be in a good head spot. One other thing to note, Cole Winn, his wife, is about to have a baby. It could happen any day, so you may not see Cole around for a few days. He lives in Scottsdale. They live in Scottsdale, so I guess that's the good thing. He could, take a day or two to be with the baby, but he doesn't have to fly anywhere. Yes, he is from the great state of Colorado, but he off seasons here. He's got his handicap to a plus 3.3, which means he is under par and significantly under par. So if this baseball thing doesn't work out, maybe you could see Cole Winn on the PGA Tour at some point. Maybe the Seniors Tour. I mean, he's still pretty young, so he's got like 25 years until he has to worry about that, if there even is a Seniors Tour around then. But Cole's in a good spot. He pitched better the other day. What was it? Monday he pitched, and he pitched better than his previous time. I think Cole's fine. I know there's a lot of support for him among the fan base to be the closer. I don't think the Rangers exactly share that sentiment, at least not yet. But he throws hard. He's got 4 or 5 pitches, including a splitter that continues to become a really good pitch. So keep an eye on Cole. Just you may not see him the rest of this week. We got to wait and see on that. So Andrew Malone, StatCast had deGrom throwing sinkers today. Is that something he's adding that to his arsenal? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I'm more than happy to ask you though tomorrow. But a lot of times StatCast can play games with people, including the reporters, and we might say, "Hey, you threw some sinkers," and be like, "No, I did not." So we'll see. But check with me tomorrow, because that's the next time we have a show. We are going tomorrow instead of Friday. Friday is a travel day for me, and it looked like the booth schedule was going to be really, really crowded up here. So we're going to go tomorrow. The Rangers play a night game tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we will do a show at our normal time, 1 p.m., just not our normal day. So our next show is tomorrow, Thursday, not Friday, tomorrow. And then I will go back to town Friday, weather permitting. Then next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, back in the studio. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Went by pretty quick. I still have half a beer I got to drink here before we leave. But that's it. Have a good night. Thanks for watching, and we will see you tomorrow on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.